Somebody said the other day, and they were dead right in saying it, that the politicians in this country and throughout the world in the European Union are laughing at the people. Because if you take a look around the European Union, one down, one England, you come across this. You come across politicians making rules, making regulations, making this, making that, making the other, and then they don't follow it. They do their own thing. Perfect example in Ireland is when they all went down to Clifton, a Supreme Court judge, a minister, members of the Oireachtas on a golf society, which we are paying for. And they went down. They went down the day beforehand. They released legislation for you and I, the only people who pay the wages. Apparently we don't matter what, it's the peasants. Again, that's the way they see it in the communist society, which we live in now. In England, we see Matt Hancock with his secretary. And I could go on, Dominic Cummings, going driving around half of England during lockdown. And I could really just go on. I could honestly go on. We had TD senators going off to Spain, to Turkey, to here and there and everywhere. And then you and I couldn't go anywhere. We would force the girls to stop us here or there and asking us for what's our reasonable excuse. And they're laughing at us. The TDs and senators, they were laughing at us. Of course they were laughing at us because they got away with it. At the end of the day, some of them had to give up the position. Take, for example, Brian Cowan, the agriculture minister. He had to give up, but he's still a TD. This is the thing. Same with Phil Hogan. He was the European Commissioner on Trade. Nobody's ever said about the time he got caught. The penalty fights. Drew Howes knew about it. And how come the girls on the beat had to tell Drew Howes, the Garda Commissioner? Was there ever a prosecution? Was there ever a fine? These are the things they laugh at us for. Because they know that the media in this country, particularly in Ireland, they just back the government out. They just toe the line. They keep towing the line. They keep bringing it forward. They keep the thing ticking over, as people often say. So people don't stand and say, hold on a second, what's happening here? But they still get big pensions. Even though they could do anything wrong, they could rob half the country blind, which they are doing at the moment in this country. And the media would say boo all against them, in this country particularly. We've seen in America, we've seen congresswomen, we've seen mayors, district attorneys break their own rules. And again, it's the same story. They're laughing at the people, they're laughing at the peasants, as the people would say behind our backs. The people who pay them, the people who elect them, the people who they represent, were supposedly represent. Supposedly, again, the word is supposedly. Do they represent us? Do they? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Do they represent us? The narrative that was thrown around a lot throughout this whole thing, even I said it from the beginning, I do admit it. I was told in the government's line at one stage, I admit it as now I'm more awake to what is really happening and to what's really going on in this country, which is tyranny. It's a Soviet dictatorship. We might as well call it the Communist States of Ireland. It's called Communist Republic of the Socialist Republic of Ireland. We hold him out as Joseph Stalin. Because that's where we're at. That's really, really where we're at. That we don't really have media. It's just kind of a Soviet-style media, which the government say what's approved and what's not approved, and who goes and who disappears and never comes back. They are laughing at us. We've seen people lose their jobs, people lose their businesses, people lose everything at the government. Some people have lost their lives. And we have the government giving themselves a big pay rise. And they're laughing at us. They're just laughing at us. Because, again, they're not in their offices. For example, the majority of TDs haven't got their offices open, the constituency offices. They're hiding in the houses, staying there. They're not going to do anything. They go to the lad's house maybe once a week, get a big expense claim out of it. But they don't go to constituency offices now. And the same, majority of them roll out to the phone calls now. Simple as that. There's the secretaries. Because they got too lazy to. They're not accountable to you and I, the people. And the election's a long way off. And in this country we have such a habit of forgetting what political parties, what people are doing, elected representatives, what they're doing to you and I, the people. But again, I say take a look in the mirror and see, how much they're laughing at us. Thank you.